Okay, so welcome to 2023 in the real estate market. We have new forms, right?
Yeah, the most exciting show that you guys wait every year. You know, you watch 51 shows, and this 52nd show is the one that you want to tune into because it's so exciting. Form changes 2023.
Form changes are our favorite. Now, this show, if you are not in the state of Indiana, this will not probably help you too much, but these are specifically for Indiana.
And you get to see our smiling faces, so there we go.
All right, so that's what our show's on today. So stay tuned for awesome information on what's going on with these forms.
All right.
What do you think?
Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know what's our first one, so who cares?
Yeah, all right. All right.
All right, now let's just do our regular show.
All right, all right.
Hey,
Hello.
everybody.
Hi.
Happy Friday. If you notice, we're trying some new technology stuff. We're getting real technological with it.
Yeah.
And
I hope I have thought bubbles too. Can I get thought bubbles?
Gabby, thought bubbles. Craig, do it. Just
Yeah.
kidding, but sort of, not really.
Yeah. That would just be blank. ... Probably thinking of like puppies or I like puppies. I should get
Puppies
a dog.
are cute.
I should get a dog.
You should get a dog.
I want one. Maybe I'll get one.
Then it'll give you like an excuse to do more walking and stuff like
Yeah,
that
I'll
too,
talk to
because
you
you've been
beans.
kind of getting back into that.
Yeah. Playing racquetball now at the gym. That's my new jam.
I'm jealous because I haven't played in forever.
It's fun.
So it is fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you have somebody who is at least semi-competitive with you.
Yeah, my buddy Mike, he's good.
As long as you're not super competitive, because then by the end of racquetball, you want to kill each other.
No, yeah, he wants to kill me because I beat him like 6 games straight or 7 games straight.
Shout out
And
to
then,
Mike.
Yeah, then he beat me, and and I can tell Mike's gonna get better faster because he's really competitive. So, and I'm plateaued. I'm gonna stay as good as I am now. Not gonna get any better.
So 3 months from now, Mike, you're going to be beating him like normally. So
Yeah.
it's cool. Just keep going. Just keep going with it.
Yeah. So we got that going for us, which is great. But I know that's not what you guys are tuning in for.
Nope.
You guys want to talk about forms. So we've got, interestingly enough, we've got 4 brand new forms that we have not seen for a while. And then we've
Forever.
got,
They're brand new.
I
We
think
haven't
there was
seen them
one
ever.
that we used to have.
Oh,
Remember
yeah, that's
the
right.
Possession,
Possession account.
which we'll
Yeah.
get to. But we're gonna go through all these forms changes. Shout out to GNIAR for making our life easier and putting these out. And I know our board, GNIAR or NIRA, soon to be known
Yeah,
as.
February 8th is our launch party.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. So we've got all that stuff going for us, and we've broken it down for you to make things simpler. So Nicole, what's the first thing that we're gonna talk about? The purchase agreement first, is that right?
Yep, purchase agreement, improved property. So not land, we're not talking about right now.
Oh, by the way, just as a quick,
Disclaimer.
disclaimer, talk to your managing broker. Anything Nicole and I say is purely entertainment, and talk to your managing broker. We're not charging.
They supersede us. Yay, okay.
Yeah, whatever they say goes. If they say Craig's wrong and Nicole's wrong, then I agree.
Then we are
so
wrong.
deal with it.
Yep.
Okay.
That was what you were going to say, wasn't a disclaimer?
No.
Oh, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, what was on that previous page that was on forms? Oh, improved property. I get this question actually surprisingly more than I would suspect. But the difference between the purchase agreement, improved property, and not improved property is a property that's not improved would usually be agricultural land, farmland, forest land, whatever, unimproved. There's no water,
Buildings.
sewer, electric. There's
Yeah.
no, there's no buildings on it and stuff like that. Even when a property has a pole barn on it, I usually use the purchase agreement, especially if your client is going to inspect the property, you probably need to use the improved property purchase agreement.
I called
But
about that this week.
Oh, did you?
Yep, I was
Yeah.
the one that called and asked.
I wasn't gonna bust you out, but
Yeah, but
I get it a lot.
I did, because,
Yeah.
you think about pole barn, they're not living in it, so it's like for us who do mostly residential, you're like, oh, is it improved or not, right? So,
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Yeah.
But again, ask your managing broker, so whatever. Okay,
all right. So some additions, purchase agreement, which is the form we use probably the most, right? Basically, we now have, which I think is amazing, language in there that says if a buyer doesn't submit proof of funds like they said they were going to, notice of termination can be served by the seller.
very cool. This just
Yes.
expedites the process. Every once in a while, we get a customer that ghosts, right? And
Yes,
you
those are the
can't-
worst.
Yeah.
You're like stalking them, you're calling them, you're emailing them, every way you can get a hold of them, nothing.
Sucks.
Yep.
So,
This makes it so you don't have to sign a mutual release with the buyer because it didn't turn into proof of funds.
Yep, and that's great.
Amazing.
And it's a unilateral, the buyer does not submit it, which we're gonna get to that because that is one of the forms.
Yep.
Is notice of termination, spoiler alert. You're supposed to say spoiler alert before you spoil it. Hey, he was dead the whole time, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
The Sixth Sense joke reference.
Wait, what is this? Let's see.
Hey, if you didn't see The Sixth Sense, I don't care that I spoiled it for you. One, it's a great movie, but two, it's been out like over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I rewatched that thing again just to make sure he didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Turns out I was wrong. Weird.
Well, I'm reading this next one, and I wish I had the line to, and guys, we really tried to put the forms on the computer at some point so we could actually pull up the purchase agreement and do this naturally. We just couldn't tech hack it right now. So, this says seller may terminate this agreement if buyer chooses to further negotiate with subsequent inspection responses. And I'm thinking that has to do with the as-is portion of the purchase agreement? I might have to look that up on my phone.
This is an interesting one. Okay, and I was in with IAR attorneys when they were explaining this to us.
Okay, good.
What this was basically to avoid monotonous back and forth or redundant back and forth when two sides don't agree. I'm sure you've seen it when the buyer keeps sending the exact same response to the seller keeps sending the exact same response. Now basically this allows the seller the opportunity to terminate it if they don't agree. So if now the buyer, okay, so let's say the buyer has the property inspected, they ask for an undisclosed major defect to be remedied, let's just say a leaking roof, right? And let's just say the seller says no, but I'll give you a credit of $100 for the roof. And the buyer says, nope, I want $800 for that leaking roof repair. And the seller then has the right to terminate the transaction if they do not choose to counter the buyer's offer again. Now the buyer still has to give the seller the ability to correct that, remedy the defect. So they still have to do that. But now this gives the seller, once the seller
upon buyer's inspection response 2, the seller can then choose.
Yeah, the seller then can get rid of this. So basically it's the seller can now also have the right to end the negotiation. And before, the way the contract was, it was unilateral. Only the buyer could do it.
So, and the big thing to understand about this, because we're going to talk about this in a form later too, is remember what your forms say. Buyer has to give the seller a chance to remedy. Seller has to respond. But then the buyer has the option to terminate from seller inspection response 1. Seller has the option to terminate once buyer inspection response 2 comes through. Because that's the only thing when I was training, I felt like would be an issue, is people not understanding the cadence of the purchase agreement and why they're putting all of this kind of together. So that is kind of what the reasoning was in residential form changes.
Yeah.
FYI. Which you all got a packet from IAR for this if you cannot find it. So just search IAR in your emails because you don't get a lot from them. All right. The next form change is on line 314. Basically, they reworded the HOA documents and things, stating that they have to give a point of contact, that they have to let you know who runs the association, all that other kind of good stuff. So please make sure as listing agents and as buyer agents that you guys are checking to make sure that your client has contact info. That was a big update in there.
Yeah, if you're the listing agent, you really should get that prior to put it on the market because it's necessary, and especially small associations. If you're in a small HOA, that's, the worst, the worst is when it's like a community of
10 people.
Well, there's one that was like, they're all volunteer HOA people. Most of them are retired. They don't do, they're not answering their phone. They don't care that they need to do this. And we've run into some real bad ones in the past where they didn't want rentals or something like that in the neighborhood, and they purposely drug their feet and caused problems with the transaction where a buyer lost their rate lock and stuff like that because they were not providing that information. This helps just basically let the seller know it's kind of more on their side, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, this is the information that has to be given to the buyer about the HOA. So that it just expounds upon that a little bit more.
And talk to your managing broker, but if you're the agent, if you should never, I remember at a previous brokerage, we had all these old HOA docs and we would have them scanned and then send them to the buyer. But if it should always come from the seller. I mean, in my opinion, the HOA docs are just as important as the seller's disclosure. It really should come from your seller, because all you're doing, we're a conduit of information. We are not, well, anyway, that's way into the weeds on this.
Yeah.
Basically, get it up front.
Yeah, and attach it as another doc so you don't get questions 24/7 from the other agents. I'm just saying.
I like when I get annoyed with myself, like, just shut up. This is next.
The next improvement is
You
just.
probably like that.
Yeah, is just fair housing, talking about how we're including NAR's, like NAR's sexual orientation, gender identity, all that stuff that was not in there before.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it actually puts in there every protected class
Like we're
plus what
defending
NAR
two
covers.
giant lawsuits and we got all kinds of problems,
Yep.
but we want to make sure we don't misgender anybody. Okay,
Anywho, purchase agreement on improved property.
it's very important.
So unimproved property, this is amazing.
I got misgendered at the McDonald's drive-thru the other day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish you would have videoed that, because I would have loved to have
Then
been there.
after I was like, oh, okay. Like,
You
they're
like,
like,
what's up, man?
yeah, sure, ma'am, go ahead and pull around. I'm like, what?
Why is that blinking?
It's blinking, 12:07.
Okay, I just want
Okay.
to make sure.
Are we
New
running
equipment, sorry guys. Yeah, we are, I know, we need
Okay.
to speed up. Purchase agreement, unimproved property, they have added contingencies that we used to manually have to write. Now it's check boxes. I love it, absolutely love it.
Me too. This is a great great form update, but we do so few of those. Let's just
They deleted a bunch of stuff.
delete a
keep
bunch of
going.
stuff. Yeah, who cares?
So basically, they had a lot of the same inspections and everything on the unimproved that they did on the improved, and realized we don't do this inspection because there's no buildings.
Yeah,
So they reduced
They
all that
just
stuff.
cleaned up a lot of the unimproved property stuff.
Yep.
Listing contract. Ooh, my favorite.
I like this one, because this has happened to me before.
Add firearms and pets to be secured. Ooh, items should not be accessible on the property during showings.
I had an open house where a firearm was accessible, and I had somebody that was touring the house come and find me to show me the gun that was not secured.
I would also add pornography.
Yes.
How many times have you walked in and there's some pornography visible and it's like,
Or
really?
sexual aid, something like that.
Something like that?
Yes,
Yeah,
that happens, unfortunately.
Electric
for us.
toothbrush?
Yep.
So- handicap to disability. Okay, so some of these we don't even need to get in.
Let's see.
Unimproved, all right, this is the same
Again,
language.
the listing unimproved is kind of the same. They took out all the old language. As is addendum. I'm excited. They have revamped the entire as is addendum. Please make sure that you read the entire thing, because it is completely new. The form is completely new.
And you can, if your managing broker agrees with me, I can disagree with them right now. You should read every word on the as-is addendum and know exactly what you're coaching your client to sign. Because most agents, I can tell you, do not, because they put redundant stuff in further conditions in the purchase agreement that the as-is addendum already states, and it's on there. So this is a great, they really cleaned this form up. Kudos to the forms committee and
For that one,
for IAR.
for sure.
They did it well. Even all these, I
Yeah.
think they did it.
They did a heck of a job.
Sometimes I say, well, this is a stupid form. What else? The notice to seller
That
that we
one
presented
was
the
great.
offer or something stupid.
However, the as-is amazing. They made it much more clear that the buyer does get an inspection. They do get one. There's a blank line. All kinds of really cool stuff. But it is completely revamped. So if you haven't looked at it yet, you should for sure.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the addendum to purchase agreement, the first right contingency.
I love this edition too.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah, like I said, they really hit a lot of home runs this
Yeah.
year. Grand slams, as a matter of fact. But here they're just clarifying whether the property that the contingent property, whether it's on the market or not on the market yet.
And you got a checkbox now. It's great. And there's a blank line to put how many days it's going to be on the market. Yay!
Yeah. So what's next?
Let's see. Addendum to purchase agreement, limited purchase. They have changed it because now if it falls in the notice of termination category, we don't need a mutual release. So the seller can just do notice of termination and that is it. And we'll go over that here in a little bit.
Backup offer.
Nothing interesting.
Yeah, nothing.
Let's see. Addendum to purchase agreement escalation.
I love that we don't even need to spend time. The market has shifted. We won't see these again until the next seller's market.
That it just updated what an actual net is. So when agents are doing their nets for the sellers on escalations, they should be including, like, taking off closing costs and other things to make sure the net is comparable.
The only thing I don't like about this, it still does not clarify commission. It says less any closing or other cost to be paid by the seller. The purchase price less any closing or other cost. In my opinion, commission is an other cost to be paid by the seller.
Yeah, so, and it varies by price, right? It's gonna be more on some and less on others, so when you're doing those, you need to do that, and I agree with Craig on that. What?
Whoa.
Oh my God!
Whoa, pause the video,
Oh my
goodness
God.
gracious. I'm gonna get a little misty-eyed.
Right? And then it does actually, just update that sufficient documentation, because remember, when you're enacting the escalation clause, you should be sending the other agent proof that you actually had to enact it. So it just talks about what to do for that. Let's see, don't really care about that.
Yeah. I thought there was-
Ooh, this is a good one. Buyer's inspection response. I was very excited about that because we were having a lot of issues and we had that really crazy market where people, like sellers, were holding earnest money and doing all that stuff. And now it talks more about what the cadence of the inspection response is, right? So it's buyer's initial inspection response, like what we talked about earlier. Buyer's inspection response 1, seller's inspection response 1, blah, blah, blah. So it does say that the buyer has the right to either push forward or terminate after seller's inspection response 1
Okay.
to get their earnest money back.
Very cool, we like that change.
Yep. And then there's also, they added the seller on the bottom, instead of having 3 choices, we now have 4 on your inspection response, where it's seller rejects buyer's subsequent inspection response, see attached mutual release. So before we had to write all that stuff in other, and then it was like, can you do that, can you not do that? Now it's in black and white, yes you can, no you can't, and that's what we're doing. So there's now 4 checkboxes at the bottom of your inspection responses on both seller and buyer side, so make sure you're looking at those.
That almost makes, isn't that a conflict with the termination notice, a notice of termination form?
So the notice of termination, I do not believe has inspection on it.
Okay,
The 5 reasons, we'll get into that
We'll get
in
to
a little
that in a
bit.
second,
But yeah, because that's the next one. Look at that. So they added buyer failed to timely submit cash proof of funds. This one is amazing. So remember, you can use your termination clause for submitting proof of funds, for no earnest money submitted, for as-is addendum. If the buyer actually submitted an inspection response with an as-is addendum, the seller can choose to terminate and not do anything else.
wait, and hold on. Well, let's go back 1 second for the notice of buyer failed to timely submit cash proof of funds. Okay, and don't be this agent, if you're
Yeah.
the listing agent, don't mess this one up.
Nope.
But if your seller accepted a purchase agreement that said, let's say, it's on the second page of the purchase agreement where it talks about when you're gonna submit proof of funds, most of the time, we submit that with the offer. But let's just say you didn't, and you said, I'll submit it within usually 2 days is what I see, usually 2 days, and on day 2, you get this notice of termination, or you send notice of termination to the buyer's agent. Well, you didn't abide by the contract, you gave them 2 days, you accepted that, so be careful with that.
So on day 3, your seller could submit
Yeah, notice of termination.
Yeah, because they didn't
Yep.
submit proof of funds.
Even if it shows up in the mail that day, doesn't matter,
And
you didn't do it.
this does happen, so I'm
Yeah.
glad that they added that in there.
If you say 2 days, you get 2 days, period.
I like,
If you need 3, say 3.
right? This is another reason, the seller accepted another offer, which it's recording.
See if we get more than 10 seconds now.
We should.
We should.
All right, apologize everybody if there's a weird clip for this, because we ran out of card space and we're rookies at doing all this tech stuff, so,
Wait, Gary could just cut all that out.
yeah.
Don't put that in there.
Okay. Gabby cut it out, I don't know, well,
Because they're not gonna know anything, it's just gonna be a blink to them.
I don't know if it will.
When
though,
she
right?
pieces the video
I
together.
hope so, I hope so.
Well, hopefully they don't have a 1 hour in between while we try to untangle this
I don't think so,
clusterfuck.
I don't think so.
All right, so, notice, where are we at? Notice of termination, I think we finished that one. Seller accepted another offer which terminates the limited, okay, so we got
We got
that
that
one, those
one,
are pretty
yep.
easy. All right, oh, that's right, so we were talking
Boarding
about
forms.
the 4 new forms. the amendment to inspection response, the appraisal gap coverage addendum, post-closing possession agreement,
Thank God.
and the buyer inspection waiver acknowledgement. Amendment to a new form has been added for 2020, amendment to inspection response, what is that? Oh, okay, so now they're just getting reasonably parts.
Yeah, so now instead of using amendment to the purchase agreement, you're gonna use amendment to the inspection response. There's actually a form for that now. Because a lot of times you'll get down the road and sometimes you have to change, like you do a credit because you can't get a contractor to come out or something else. You're gonna use that form instead of a regular purchase agreement amendment,
Okay, yeah, that's
which is
fine.
nice, so you know where it goes.
Appraisal gap coverage addendum. This was just something that's been, agents have been doing this themselves in further conditions. So this was something which obviously we're not allowed to do. So, thank you IAR for stepping up and making a form for us.
Yep, so now it's like a checkbox thing, you just kind of go through, it's great.
Post-closing possession agreement.
My
Oh.
favorite.
Well, first of all, we hate doing these, but at least now we have a form to deal with.
And it tells who is gonna do utilities, who's gonna maintain it, what happens if, how much money you're charging, what happens if they don't get out. And it literally says in there, it is not a tenancy agreement, which is what I like the best about it.
Yeah.
So no tenancy agreement, no need to evict or anything like that. So please make sure, that one is very important because we've had closing, post-possession closing agreements and, you know, managing brokers or attorneys for different brokerages in the area are making them, now we have a standard form for that, which standardizes our area, which is nice, so.
Yeah, this, I mean, I don't really love this as a managing broker myself because, well, I'm sorry, first of all, I love it. It's a great form. We need something like this, but I'm trying to read right now if it talks about who's gonna hold the escrows, who's gonna do all that kind of stuff, and how does it get released and things like that. I mean, this is 100 times better than what we had, since we had nothing.
The release section.
Well, the release, this is a hold harmless for us. This is a hold harmless. But where does it say, where does it talk about, seller agrees to pay a security deposit in the amount of blank immediately following closing. Such will be returned to seller within 10 days. So many, the event that the seller's security deposit is insufficient repair, the seller shall be responsible for payment of additional cost. Okay, so I guess maybe I do love this. You know, I don't know who holds that security. That's the one thing I guess is not really, it doesn't
Should've
say
made
who's
that
gonna
clear.
hold it.
Yeah.
A lot of title companies and brokerages will not hold possession escrows anymore.
But I think that a lot of that is because there wasn't a standardized form for it, right? So it was people just making it up, like,
Yeah, agents were
Whatever.
Yeah, they were leaving it too vague, like, you know,
now we
so-and-so
have a
gets the
form,
money.
it holds us harmless, that kind of stuff. So the good thing about it, if we'd had this, we would have been fine in some of the instances that we've had.
And I think the fact that we call it a security deposit, maybe it doesn't need to be, I think the security deposit needs to be made out to the buyer, I'm guessing. Well, I don't know, I'll call IAR and find out what they expected on this.
But know that this is in here and that you should delve into this form a little bit further,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, agents be real careful with that. Okay, buyer inspection waiver acknowledgement.
It's a risk tool for us, CYA, so that it'll say, like, we told you that you should get a home inspection. We advised you to get one and you hold us harmless. That is about it.
All right, we reached the end of our stack. Thank you for watching.
It was 50 pages. Thank you for sticking with us. I know forms changes is always the longest and sometimes the most boring. However,
A lot of good.
it's a lot of
Yeah,
good
these-
information.
These were good ones. I mean, I think the escalation / appraisal, I think those things are late.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna see those for a while in this marketplace, or we won't see them as frequently, but good to have it for when we do need it, so I think all that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We will see you next week. Have a
All right.
good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Now someone has to get up and turn it off.
Yep. Are we still shooting?